Hi guys, this is me. This is me, Hilary. I started a podcast called "This Is Me." For those who did not see my previous podcast, you can go back and look at it. But basically, I started this journey, medical journey in my body when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, with depression. And I was asked, do I feel depressed? Now, I don't necessarily want this to be a podcast talking about mental health or mental health wellness, or I have no authority in that area. I just felt like I had so much that was coming at me at the same time with this diagnosis and how it came about, that I felt like, as a person that has grown up for so many years and now getting a diagnosis like this, I felt like there must be somebody else out there going through life feeling like, I've hurdled a lot of things in my life and not expecting a diagnosis that's so, it is riddled with a lot of questions, but also the prognosis is not very hopeful. But in my case, I am very hopeful and very prayerful because, as I had stated before, I also am a pastor, and I know that my faith in God and my belief system enables me to know that even though you get a diagnosis and a prognosis that says that this is going to be the rest of your life, which is very hard to hear, that does not mean that that's something you have to accept, because that can be very crippling to your future outlook and how you view life. So I wanted to pick up from my first podcast talking about, how I came about hearing about this diagnosis or being diagnosed in this way, to stating what has happened so far. So up to this point, I was told that I was going to be on different medications. The day that I actually started the podcast was the day that I actually started taking a second series of medication. So they started me on an antidepressant called Cymbalta, and it gave me very bad side effect, and I was not able to continue on it. So I went back to my rheumatoid doctor, and they prescribed a different set of medication. Again, I was completely depleted with vitamin D, so I have vitamin D deficiency. So I'm also on a weekly vitamin D supplement. But on top of that, they said, go ahead and take the vitamin D, and I let it took it for about 2 3 weeks before I started on this new medication called Lyrica, which is a medication that actually is a pain relief for nerve pain, which, again, like I said, I was asked, do I feel depressed, and how does this work when you feel physical symptoms from what seem to be something that is mentally orientated. So I had gone through a series of stressors in my life, and maybe at some point during this podcast, I will feel the ability to share some of the details of that. I really don't feel it's brand new. Just went through a lot during 2022, and this is January. Yay, Happy New Year for those who haven't seen since 2022. But this was reset, that I went through a series of just a lot of emotional stressors in my life. Of course, I am a wife of, this year is going to be 30 years, yippee. A mother of four, three girls, and a male. My son is 26, married with two kids. Very proud of him. And also a registered nurse of 32 years. So going on with my role as when I went back to work as a clinical manager, being a pastor of a church and first lady, being a home maker and mother of some grown kids. Three of my kids are in their 20s. One of them is still at home. She's 16 years old in high school. You can imagine how many different things come at you in a given day, in a given week, in a given month, in a given year. And I went through a couple of them, and couple of particular, because my job was very stressful, managing a clinic and work life at church as well. And I went through a series of physical as well as emotional overstimuli to the point where I was overwhelmed to my breaking point. And it's manifested itself in the symptoms that caused me to keep going back to the doctor. I was having a fever, so during COVID, at the medical facilities, we take our temperature every morning as a screening method for COVID. And if your temperature is above 100, you get sent for a COVID check to make sure you're not having contracted COVID. Well, I would have a reading of at least 99, 99.1, 99 points. Almost every morning I came in, my temperature was 99 or above, until once or twice it would hit 100. I remember the first time it had hit 100. I came home. I was sick, but I tested negative for COVID. I didn't have COVID, but I was just sick, and the doctor said just stay home for a couple of weeks, and it wasn't as bad as the last time. Towards the end of the year, again, my temperature hit over 100. Went to the doctor, tested me for COVID. I was negative. Tested me for the flu. I was negative, but I was sick. I was sent home for 2 weeks again, in the bed, chronic fever to the point of taking Tylenol every 4 hours for fever and not having a diagnosis. I literally said to the doctor, "What is it that I have?" And he said, "I don't know." There was no test that he thought he could do to properly diagnose me and to tell me this is exactly what you're going through. This is exactly what you have. But here I was sick, obviously sick, with symptoms, physiological symptoms that you could read of a temperature above 100, being achy in my body from that fever, my body raging with fever, and nobody could tell me what it is that I was going through. And so those are the things that led up to me continually going back to the doctor and saying, there's something wrong. I'm always tired. Now, I grew up anemic, which is just means that you don't have a high blood count. Your hemoglobin so should be around 12 for female, around 14 for male, and mine is usually 9 or 10 or something like that. And premenopausal women, hemoglobin is usually low, and so I would be put on iron, and of course I had the vitamin D deficiency, and so what, I was put on the different medications for that. I was even put on fish oil at one point. But now they were saying I'm not anemic, but I was still feeling tired all the time, just constantly tired all the time. Again, with the ache in my bones, in my muscles, in my legs, they would give me muscle relaxants and even give me injections to say, you're just working too hard. You need to take some time off from work. You're stressed out. Your body is just tired and you're stressed out and that kind of thing. So I would say, okay, I'll try, but I don't know how to work and not be tired, or to have all these responsibilities and not be stressed, but I'll try my best. I'll do my best. And I would go away with that. But they weren't taking it seriously because I was not a sick person. I wasn't diagnosed with diabetes or all the regular hypertension and even high cholesterol. I didn't have anything that was typical that would trigger a doctor to say, we need to investigate further. There's something else going on with her, or maybe we should start some course of treatment. And so I just felt dismissed a lot of times because I looked like I was fine, functioning, and healthy. There was no markers on my labs, my regular annual labs, to say that there was anything wrong. But yet I was coming in tired, fatigued, in pain, to the point where they sent me for a bone density scan that came back negative as well. So there was nothing wrong with my bones. I think they were looking for osteoporosis or something, saying that there was something wrong with my bones while I was feeling pain. I had a heel spur. I actually went through a car accident during that period of time. They did chest x-rays and realized that I had some abnormality structure in my back, and I went through physical therapy. And even through the physical therapy, I just kept feeling achy and not feeling completely well. Everybody keeps asking, you feeling better? Is this better? Is it getting any better? And you're like, I don't know. I keep thinking maybe I need to exercise. Maybe I'm just out of shape. And if I could get my body back into shape, maybe then I'd feel better. Maybe if I ate healthy, maybe if I exercised, maybe if I worked out, maybe if I lost some weight, I'll be at a better, feeling better in my body. And so that constant nagging of pain, and I was not a person that liked doctors. I literally go to doctors and say, I hate doctors. I do not like doctors. I do not take pills. I mentioned that I don't take medication. I will not even take vitamins. I don't take Tylenol. If I'm in pain and I'm taking Tylenol, you know that I'm really in pain, because I will bear my pain and I will not take anything. I just, I hate side effects, and I do not feel like I need to put something in my body that's going to give me an adverse reaction, when if I didn't put it in my body, it wouldn't be there to create that reaction. So that's just my mindset, from where it came from, maybe my dad or whatever. But because of that, I was just not being taken seriously, and I kept being sent back to work, back to home, back to whatever I was doing. And I'm a driven person, I gotta admit. If I'm at church and I'm doing a project, whatever we're doing an outreach, we're doing a community event, we're doing a women's event, we're doing a youth event, I am going. My whole family knows that, and I'm taking everybody else along with me who will come on for the ride. So I'm driven when I'm at work, I'm driven when I'm at church, I'm driven when I'm at home. So whenever something stops me, it really stops me, and it's really hard to deal with. And so eventually, one day I went back again, last year, I'm going to say sometime in September, to the doctor and say, I'm really hurting. I don't know what's going on. And for some reason, a light bulb moment went on for him, and he said, you've been saying that for a while, that you've been in pain. I remember you keep saying you're in pain. And that's when he sent me he did the autoimmune marker and sent me for to the rheumatologist for a further follow-up, when the autoimmune marker came back positive, that I had some kind of autoimmune thing going on. Of course, like I said in my previous podcast, they tested me for everything from lupus to rheumatoid arthritis, and they didn't find anything. And that's when they said, okay, we think you have fibromyalgia with depression. So how does that work? Just a series of stressors that attack your body, that manifest in a physical symptom, and you end up achy and in pain. And I often describe this as I have had a period in my time when I wasn't working out, I wasn't doing anything, I was just going to work, coming home, and I wasn't physically active. And then decided maybe New Year's to say, you know what, I'm going to start working out. And so you go to the gym and you hit it really hard because you remember when you did it last time, how well that worked. And so you hit it really hard, and that time, because your body is fresh to it, you don't feel it until the next day. You kind of wake up achy, like, yeah, I may have lifted too hard, I may have done some push-ups, or leg push-ups too hard. But that's how my body felt constantly, 24/7. That's how I describe the feeling of fibromyalgia. Ac- 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 at least for me, I can't describe it for anybody else. So it's a emotional roller coaster of stressors that kind of manifest in your body in a lot of aches and pains. And for me as well, I would constantly be tipping the thermometer with 99 temperatures, and on occasion would go to 100. And I was thinking that that's probably the process that I was going through all this time, and not knowing that my body was going through some kind of inflammatory process. And so that was just trying to put two and two together to figure out what was going on, and connecting it with, just going back and looking back and say, oh, that's what that was happening. That's what that meant. And that's why that was happening. Since then, like I said, I have been taking the Lyrica. I did not get any ill effects like I did with the Cymbalta. So I continued taking my vitamin D along with the Lyrica. And everybody, every now and again, we keep asking me, how's that working? Are you feeling any better? And, everybody's hopeful that it's going to be better. It's so weird because I'm a clinical educator on my job right now. I'm not a clinical manager anymore. And one of my new hires, I wasn't having a great day. And this was just when I just got the diagnosis. He said, "Well, how are you? I see, you look like you have distress on your face." And I said, yeah, I just recently got this diagnosis. And it so happened to be something apparently he just went through. And so he said, oh, I just went through that. You're going to be okay. They put me on medication, and I've been so great ever since. It changed my life. It revolutionized how I did things. And so I was looking forward to that and kind of expecting that result for myself. It didn't happen that way for me. And so, again, this is me. So I'm hopeful for you that if you go through some medical diagnosis, that you'll be able to get the treatment and the therapy that you need, that will revolutionize and change how you do life and make you feel better and healthy and pain free. It just didn't happen for me. Yes, it was great that I was taking the vitamin D and I was taking the Lyrica and I wasn't having any side effect per se, but life as I know it hadn't changed much. I still was having the aches and pains that I would get. Like I said, I feel like, you just worked out after not working out for a while. That was still happening. I was still getting up, kind of feeling sluggish, kind of not having a lot of energy. Looking forward to the vitamin D kicking in and, working, just trying to be faithful and consistent with that, hoping that somehow, it would turn around my health crisis and I would just begin to start feeling myself again. Even to the point where maybe I can hit the gym and I can start working out again and feeling great again. So again, this is me. I wanted to just let you know I'm not trying to be an expert on anything. I'm just trying to let somebody know, my experience, what I went through, and hopefully it will help somebody else on their journey and maybe not feel so discouraged, because even though I didn't feel much better with taking the Lyrica, I was at least feeling like at least I'm taking something that was not giving me a bad effect and I was going to be okay. So that recently happened. I was in New York for Christmas and I did all that. I came back to Georgia to start work again for the new year. And January 2nd, I went to work and came back home and sat on my sofa after a day of work. And after a while, just started feeling some pain on the side of my knee, which I keep saying to people, I know oftentimes you kind of sit on your knee kind of improperly, with an improper posture, and you get up and say, oh, I got to work that out because, I didn't sit well on my knee. Let me work that out. And I tried to do that, and it wasn't working. I still was experiencing pain to the point where it was escalating. And so my husband was like, you could get up from there, come over this side, and maybe sitting upright in this chair, maybe it will be better. And in the meantime, I got a call from my son. I told you he was in New York, and we had just left there, but we always see the grandkids on FaceTime. And they were on FaceTime. I was like, I'm not feeling good. My knee hurts. And so he was saying, put some ice on it, Mom. Put an ice pack on it. So we put an ice pack on it. Wasn't feeling any better. And then my husband said, you want some medication? And when I said yes, I'm in pain. So I took 800 milligrams of Motrin to try to alleviate the pain. And it was not getting any better. As a matter of fact, it got worse to the point where my baby girl said, "Ma, I got you." She helped me to get up the stairs to the bedroom, and we were thinking, okay, let's give it some time to work. Again, I take Lyrica, which is also a nerve pain medication, so I took that later on that night, but woke up in the morning to pain and was immediately like, I need to go to the emergency room. And so we went to the emergency room. They did some x-rays, and the x-ray came back that I had a compartmental degenerative osteoarthritis in my knee. And that was a crazy, because I was saying to the doctor, okay, I have a rheumatoid doctor. She's like, no, you're going to need an orthopedic surgeon for this. I'm like, okay, so I need a whole another specialist for this new diagnosis in my life. This is just great. Isn't this wonderful? So, gave me some tramadol, and I'm shooting up all these medications to you. But if you've ever been in pain before, these medications are heavy pain medications, but they were not working for the pain. So I was being wheeled around by my husband and children in this wheelchair in the emergency room because I could not stand and I could not walk. Eventually, he sent me home on heavy doses of prednisone and hydrocodone, which is a narcotic. Strapped my knee up with a bandage and gave me strep crutches to walk home. And of course, the hydrocodone was horrible on my system. Again, why I don't take medication. Had really bad side effect, just loopy, just going around in circles, just nausea, spitting up, just to the point I felt like I was going to hurl really bad. But it did take the edge off, was the only thing that could take the edge off of the pain from my knee. And so now I'm following up with the orthopedic surgeon. So this is where I am. I did not start this podcast to see how many diagnoses I could get in a year. And that's so funny because didn't expect another diagnosis to happen. But keep tuning in. I will give you an update as to what's going on, both with the fibromyalgia now and the osteoarthritis. By the way, I did go to the orthopedic surgeon today for that follow-up, and they're going to see if I have like a meniscus tear in my knee. But he said the osteoarthritis is not something he could do anything about. So for all the prayer warriors out there, you can pray for me if you feel led to do so, because part of this is just a spiritual attack that I believe that is happening. But I am not going into this year, 2023, afraid or ashamed, but I am going in as me, a child of God who happens to be a human being who have a relationship with Christ and is going through some medical issues that I'm just trying to be real about, not trying to be super spiritual, just trying to be real and authentic about what I'm going through. And I go through my journey. I'm hoping to encourage somebody that might be going through their journey to be encouraged and to know there's light at the end of the tunnel. So stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.